Okay,
Well,
welcome.
your smiling face.
Oh, I know. I'm so excited to see you, Amanda. I just want to squish your face. It always kills me that I see people I know and love, and then I want you all to be in my living room. And I say that every time, but you can't. If you're in my living room, you could have one of these. It's water.
Wait a second. I can't hear anybody but you, Meg.
Everybody's muted but you.
Oh, do you want that?
I don't care. I don't care if you're muted.
Yeah? Okay.
No. I don't care if you are or aren't. It doesn't matter to me.
I know, but like, we can chat too.
Yeah, I think some people, there's only 5 of us with cameras, and then other people don't have cameras. Some people like to be mute and quiet the entire time, and just because I don't know if they're actually listening to me. They could be sleeping or drinking, or I wish. Those things sound fun.
Well,
and some people,
I have a glass of red wine. It's past the time, so I'm good to go.
yeah, so there you go. So some people just have the camera on, but I look at their ceiling fan that goes around in circles. Emily and Laura, you have been on with some ceiling fans, right? And you're like, what? Just turn off the camera. But I don't think they know how. So I've seen a lot of 1:30 to 3:30 today. We had a lot of people who were like moving, like one girl who was in a car and she was like walking through somewhere and something, and she was like this. I was like, to turn the camera off. So all I see, I felt like it was Blair Witch Project. I could see like, I was like, so it was really crazy. So hello everybody, here we are. So I do ask you that you mute if you end up having kids in the background, feel like you have to say bad words. We had a couple people saying bad words this afternoon. They were like, oh, I can't figure this out. And I was like, you're not muted. And I've already started recording. Sorry. Oh, Kathy, you raised your hand. I don't know what that means. I don't, okay. Kathy, you want to say something? Or did you raise your hand? Okay, I'll lower your hand. She doesn't. She's like this. I don't think so. I had a whole conversation this afternoon with somebody, and my button on this was not high, was not bright, so they couldn't hear me. I had a whole conversation with somebody, and she just was like this because she didn't hear me. Because yeah. Oh wait, someone has a chat with me. Hold on. Someone wants to chat with me. 1 minute. I have no audio. Oh. You're not muted, Kathy. You can't hear me? Everybody can hear me, so it must be on your end. Right, all of you can hear me? Yeah? Kirsten, you can hear me? Yeah. So I tell her it's on her end, but guess what? She can't hear me. So I don't know. Should we write her notes? Let's write her notes. On your end. And I'll hold it up. Kathy, it's on your end. She doesn't even know we're talking to her, so I don't know. All right, so we're going to talk about red flags. We have an hour. Now we have 53 minutes. My one this afternoon was 2 hours, and I'm so used to these 1 hour ones that I was like, oh my gosh, I have to talk for another whole hour? And it was a little bit tricky, I'm not going to lie, that I had to talk for that long. Where 2 hours is usually my smaller time limit, right? Conferences, sometimes I do 2 hours, lunch, and 2 hours. So I talk for 6 hours straight. I did change my outfit for you because we recorded and I showered. You're welcome again. And when I was getting in the shower, I found a sparkle on my bottom. So I am a magical unicorn. I don't even know how that happened. I just went to take off my pants and I went like this. And it was like a bedazzle sparkle that you would like glue on your pants. Not just like a piece of glitter. It was like a for real sparkle. And I was like, how did that get on my bum? I don't know. But that's what's happening. I'm Your Highness Sparklebutt is what my new name is. So, oh, Kathy's got audio. Yay. Okay. She's good. That's good. I don't want anybody not to have audio. Although if you sit here and look at me and pretend you're listening, you're going to get a certificate just because that's how it is everywhere, right? We are the field in early childhood. We are now important. We were not important before this, but now we're important. We are the field that gets paid the least amount of money and needs the most amount of childcare. I mean, most amount of training, right? So we get paid very little and we have to have the most amount of training, which is hard. All right. So with red flags, usually when I go in, probably the majority of the time, maybe 70, 75%, people have called too late. They've tried to figure out what to do with the kid and they couldn't figure it out and it was tricky. And then that was it. They were like, we should call Meg. But they're already like at the point of maybe kicking the kid out, being upset, wanting to get rid of kids, being mad, being frustrated, right? So all of that stuff. So when I go in, I walk in, and so if anybody watches football, they put the flags to challenge the play in their pocket and in their socks. And when I go in, people take the flags out and they start chucking them at me, right? Invisibly, of course. But they start chucking them at me like, this kid has all these problems, and they're throwing and throwing and throwing. And I'm like, oh, and I catch them all. And I'm like, okay, so he has speech, and he moves too much, and he has a lack of attention span. You think he's autistic. He might have ADHD. Like, all these flags come at me. And then I sit in the class. Usually when I go in for a workshop or for checking people out, kids out, I'm there for about 2 hours. So I sit for 2 hours, and what do I realize? It's not all the kid. Sometimes it's never the kid. It's the adult that is doing certain things, or the kid and the adult don't mesh well. So we're going to talk about that today. So we're going to figure out how to leave this workshop after an hour with less red flags. Know what are real red flags and what are ones that maybe we have to work on. So the first place we start is trying to figure this out. So it's going to go from the bottom to the top, not from the top to the bottom. So where do we start, right? We start with that self-reflection piece. Who am I? Who is this kid, right? We have to do that part. When we do who am I? Who is this child? We can then figure out relationships, right? So we have to do the self-reflection piece. We have to know that I am squirrely. If you are calm and mild-mannered and don't like a lot of energy and action, I am not good for you. There are a lot of people who like the way I train, but they tell me if they saw me out in public, they would hide from me because they don't want me to go, oh my gosh, Emily, it's you! Because they're like, oh my God, she's gonna make me dance at a bar, or she's gonna make me, so they kind of back off, right? So I overwhelmed probably 3/4 of my class, all 10 years I taught kindergarten. Did I know that at the time? No. Do I know now? Yes. And I feel like I have to call them. My first class is probably about 20, I bet they're 25, 26 years old. So I want to call them and be like, hi, Michael, gosh, I'm really sorry. I did not mean to overwhelm you. I didn't mean to be loud. I thought I was being friendly, right? I overwhelm the kids that like worksheets and like a beginning and an end and know when snack time is every day. No, I don't know. I taught a 4-year-old how to tell time so he could tell me when it was snack time, because every day I forgot. For the first 7 years I taught kindergarten, I forgot till Jesse got there. And I was like, Jesse, you're my lifesaver. And then Jesse taught the younger kids, so the younger kids would still be in my class, and he moved on, and then the younger kids knew. So it was like a thing that they did, right? He moved on, and then if you're really smart in math and telling time, you get to be the one that tells the teacher when snack time is. So I have to know, who am I? So a lot of times it's the red flags come at me. Why? Because you are boring. Have you been in the classrooms where the teachers are boring? If you are boring and don't have humor, please go work at Target and stock the shelves. I don't know. Go do something different. Because if you are boring, right? If you are going to read a story, The Cat and the Hat by Dr. Seuss. It was too wet to go out. It was too wet to play. So we sat in the house all that wet day. Ha! You threw all those flags at me because kids are bored. And then you're making them sit still. And then you're making them say crisscross applesauce. And then like, oh my gosh, you have to know that some of it is you. Challenging behaviors, it's almost always some of it is you, right? So, and then who is this child? What sort of background do they have? Sometimes we find out that there's severe trauma with kids in February. And you're like, oh, that would have been helpful in, I don't know, September, right? Who's this kid? What's their temperament? Right? If you're up here and they're down here, who needs to go down? We do. We're going this way. We're not expecting them to meet us. That's a high school thing, a late middle school, early high school thing. So who am I and who is this child? Together, once we figure that out, we can enter relationships. That is the number one way to help kids with challenging behaviors, is to enter a positive relationship with them. I have a lot of kids who, I have 3 this year that have had therapists. I'm not a therapist, but sometimes that's what they call me. The kids call me. Are you so-and-so's therapist? I was like, yeah, because it's not worth going into the whole story about what I am and what I'm not. And so I've had 3 that have said, oh my gosh, thank goodness you're a young girl. And I was like, sweet. I was like, how old do you think I am? Because right, I act like I'm 12. But I've had a couple that say, oh my gosh, if I have one more old man therapist, I'm going to lose it. And I was like, why? What's wrong with the old man? They just don't, right? If you, there is this, she was a girl. She is a boy now. So was a girl, is a boy. People are throwing out flags, right, all over the place. And why? Because an old man doesn't get why this girl wants to be a boy, doesn't call him by his boy name, and doesn't say him, his, him, he, him, his. And so if you've made that decision and you've gone into that, then you need to respect that. And I said, all right. And I said, I don't actually even know what your girl name was. Do you want to tell me? No. It's disgusting. I know what it is now. It was Sandra. And I was like, I just feel like that's like from Grease Lightning or something, right? Sandra and, right? Do you want to sing the song? I don't know. I put it to my head. Yeah. So I have 3 girls, well, one's boy now, but 3 girls that have said, thank goodness it's you and you're funny and you're fun and I can have a relationship with you. And I was like, great. Perfect. And I'm even in this really tough time where, right, every time I meet with a kid, I have to record it, and right, all my ducks are, well, I don't have any, but they're all gone. And my squirrels are trying to act like ducks and figure out all this administrative stuff.
Hey, Liza.
Whoa. And they're getting, and I'm getting new kids now. Why am I getting new kids? Because I'm getting new kids because I am good with relationships, because I'm good with the relationship piece for kids. And they're like, you know what? I keep getting these things from parents that say, we love Meg. And I'm like, woo! And do I do anything differently than others? Yeah, I'm just like a regular person. Right? So the relationship piece for me is good. So I don't have a lot of red flags that everybody else has, because the relationship piece is the part I'm good at. I have a lot of people that say, so I have another chat. Oh, don't worry about it. I have a lot of people that tell me that I'm good at relationships, and then I have other people who say like, oh, he's not going to talk to you. He's not going to meet you. He's not going to like you. And I was like, right. And I have the challenge piece, and I was like, oh yeah, bet that's not true. And I go in and the kids love me. Sometimes the parents have a harder time because I have to tell them the truthful things about their behavior, right? It's never the kids I have a problem with. Anybody? Not the kids, really. Sometimes it's the parents or other teachers. Sometimes it's administration. I don't follow the rules well, so sometimes administration gets me. So then we move from relationships to environments. All 4 pieces. So physical, interpersonal, physiological, philosophical, and curriculum. So the interpersonal part is the relationship piece. Do we look at the physical part? Do we, in an early childhood program, do we go in and it's all primary colors? If that's the case, you might have kids that have red flags because it's overstimulating for them. If it's cluttered, and if you're an infant and toddler teacher, your room smells like poop. You don't know because you're in it. When you leave to go to the bathroom and come back, you're like, oh my gosh, it smells terrible in here. And you're like, yeah, we smelled terrible in here, but you don't know because you've been in it the whole time, right? So physically, the walls should be, I would say the color of my walls, but you can't really tell. They're blue and natural colors, the calmest colors, that shell bisque, so that like light salmony peach color. So that is, some kids are overwhelmed and we're throwing out red flags because they are overstimulated, and it has to do with the physical piece of the environment. Too loud, smells bad, right? Not painted the right color, not organized, too much clutter. The interpersonal piece is the relationship piece. The philosophical piece. I saw this on Facebook the other day that said, I hear it takes a village to raise a child. Is there like a number or an email that I could use? Right? Like we hear that and we're like, so where are all the people that we can call to come to be in my village? Like what, right? But that is the philosophical part. The philosophical part for me, like my philosophies are, if you teach kids, you have to choose love 100% of the time. Even when you're mad, find a way to bow out, find a way to move your car or take a time out or have explosive diarrhea. So you leave. I don't know. Another philosophical part for me is you need to use humor. And if you're not funny with kids, and sarcasm, that's my line, because sarcasm looks mean to little kids. Yeah, you need to use humor with kids. Nobody wants this. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. We're going to eat breakfast, and then we're going to do circles. It's going to be so much fun. Nobody believes you in that voice, whatever that voice is. I don't know how. I went into a child care center, and the director comes out of her office and goes, Meg, I'm so glad you're here. We're so glad you're here today. I'm looking around like, me, Meg? Like the 37-year-old Meg? I'm not 37 anymore, but at the time I was 37, and I was like, she did not break that voice the entire day. She talked to her husband like that on the phone. She talked to all the teachers like that. She talked to the kids like that. And I was like, no. I'm putting a new philosophy in my head. Don't sound like that girl. Stop it. Because when you say that to me, I was like, you're so fake. Nothing you say right now, I'm going to listen to. Oh my gosh, stop. Ooh. It made me like throw up in my mouth. Gross. And then the curriculum piece. So sometimes you throw out red flags because your curriculum is not interesting. I am not a proponent of themes, but sometimes that is what happens when I go in. But you know what? Not all kids are happy about apples in September. If I see one more hand turkey at Thanksgiving, I'm going to poke my eyeballs out. And then December is holidays around the world. Yeah, right. Okay. Which is great, except if you did all that all year round. So I can call what's happening when I go in. I know why people pick apples, because people go, right, apple picking, and they make apple pies. And kids like apple picking because it's outside and with family and a field trip. They like apple pies because it's cooking and it's yummy and they get to eat it. It's not necessarily because of, oh, yeah, maybe it's apples. Try September's donut month. I bet they'd go for that just as much as they go for apples, right? So we have to make sure the curriculum is interesting. My son goes to and I am that's one of my philosophies, is that curriculum has to be interesting for kids. And you have to meet all kids where they are. And so my son goes to a private school that does project-based learning, right? They've built a tree house and had a budget and had customers. They built a goat bridge, they have goats at the school, and a real goat bridge for the real goats. They had a rotting playhouse, so they destroyed the playhouse and made a new playhouse. They have they just made inventions, and my son made a truck that picks up Legos and dumps them in. garbage truck part of the Legos to make it fun while he cleans up. Like, that's what they were learning. There isn't like a math, science, reading time. It's all combined together. And that is my philosophy around curriculum. So know what your philosophy is and know what the kids, right? I hate worksheets, but do some kids like it? Yeah. I overwhelmed all those kids because we had no worksheets. And some kids just want to start and finish. And I filled in all the things. And I put my name and date and I pass it in. I'm done. That stuff drives me crazy. So my co-teacher would do it because I was like, I'll throw up on the worksheet if I have to do it. I can't. So we have to figure out, right, where curriculum for you is, where curriculum for the kids are, and administration, right? If you go to a public school and it's not project-based, it's hard to be project-based when you're at a traditional school. So figuring that piece out is important. Differentiation of instruction. So that's when you look at multiple intelligences, learning styles, and modalities. So that's where visual and auditory learning is really celebrated in schools. What happens if you're tactile kinesthetic and you learn like this? There's a little boy at my son's morning meeting. I love him dearly, but he has an iPad and it's like, and if you could see him, he's like rolling around, he's tapping. I don't know how many times the teachers are like, hey buddy, stop tapping. And he's like, but he forgets that we can all hear him. And we're like, hey, bud, you got to mute. And he's like, oh, yeah, sorry. He's just like, visual and auditory. He doesn't have to see us. He is bopping around, doing cartwheels. And sometimes he's gone. We're like, where'd he go? And he comes back. He's like, hi, guys. We're like, oh, my gosh. I feel like that's what my squirrels are like in my head. I just know not to have them come out looking like that. He is like my internal squirrel, for sure. So what kind of differentiation of instruction do you need to do with kids? Because if you have it one way, and this is the way, and this is the way it has to be done, I see it a lot in math. So like, oh, that's the right answer, but you didn't do it the way I showed it on the board. And you didn't show work because some kids can do it in their head. I cannot, but some kids can do it in their head, so it's wrong. Because you didn't do, and I'm like, but they got the right answer. No, it's wrong because they didn't do it the way I taught them. Well, probably because they could do it another way and they're smarter than you are. How many people think kids are smarter than them in math? Oh, for sure. Thank goodness my son doesn't do math the regular way because I'd have to bow out at 7. But we're still counting sugar packets when we go out to breakfast. Oh, how many people want to go out to breakfast? I do. I just want to go to a restaurant where they feed me and take away my food and give me a vodka and tonic. My goodness. I can't wait for that. That's going to be the first thing I do. Can't wait to go out to eat. How many people are saving a lot of money because they don't go out to eat? I am realizing now how much money I spend going out to eat. Holy moly. It's a lot of money. But I still want to go. That's still the first thing I'm going to do. Next is discipline. So natural and logical consequences. Natural consequences end when it's dangerous. So a natural consequence for going out and playing in the traffic is you're going to get hit by a car. So that's when a logical consequence comes in. And they need to be related, respectful, and reasonable. You need those 3. So sometimes your discipline strategies look like ignoring behavior, sticker charts, and clip down systems, and you wonder why kids have red flags. Because you're shaming, guilting, and embarrassing them, and they're fighting back, right? So you got to watch the discipline piece. And who wants to be shamed in front of everybody? Even if I remember I had a good kindergarten teacher that did it to me when I was 5, and we weren't allowed to, it was a privilege to wash the dishes, right, where I went to kindergarten. And but we couldn't knock on the window and wave to our friends outside. Okay, so a lot of you know me already. Do you see how that was not helpful or successful for me? So the first person I saw outside, what did I do? Knocked and waved to the window. Who got caught? So it wasn't right. I was 5 in 1983. So there were timeouts. So I got put in a corner in timeout, which is hugely embarrassing for me and my temperament. And then I was the page turner. So I was supposed to sit on the teacher's lap and turn the pages. And she looked at the co-teacher and goes, ugh, I don't want her to sit on my lap. I don't want her to be page turner, and I heard her. So I sat in the corner and tried to make the pee come out. So when I sat on her lap, I could pee on her. And I did. I peed on her. And she had like 1970s, 80s, I guess, blue polyester pants. And when I stood up, she had a big, wet, dark blue mark on her. And she goes, "Did you pee on me?" And I was like, "No." And I turned around, I had a big spot on my pants where I peed. And I was like, if I'm going to smell like pee, you're going to smell like pee. She had no clothes. She had to walk around with pee on her the whole day. And I was like, winner, I win. And why is that? Because discipline-wise, she did the exact opposite of what she could have just come up to me and be like, "Meg, we talked about the window. I know that you love everybody out there and you want to say hi, but it's so distracting. Please stop." And I would have stopped. I 100% would have stopped. She put me in the corner. She was saying things to the co-teacher that I could hear. And I remember, because once you're potty trained, it's really hard to pee your pants on purpose. So I remember sitting in the corner like this, trying to make the pee come out so when I sat on her lap, I could go. That's what, and I was 5. That was 37 years ago, and I still remember that. I remember what I was wearing. I remember what she was wearing, because it was not the right discipline for me. It's not really, putting kid in timeout is not the right discipline for anybody, just so you know. And then support plans. That is, I need help with speech or OT, or it is legitimately a red flag. And I have thrown it, and I catch it, and I say, "You are right. We need to find somebody to help with this." So before we get to who am I and who is this child, 18 to 24% of the kids in schools are identified with something, that have some sort of diagnosis or evaluation. By the time we go through all of the steps and get to support plans, it goes from 18 to 23% or 24% to 1 to 2%. Why? Because it goes from 18 to 23% of the kids have red flags. You figure all these pieces out as you climb these tiers. By the time you get to support plans, it's only 1 to 2% of kids. And it goes with 98% of the time, you've all heard me say this, 98% of the time, a challenging behavior is a lack of skill or an unmet need. So we need to teach skills and meet needs and use our 2 best friends of time and patience. If we do that, we take out many of the red flags. Sometimes the red flag is us. Sometimes it's the relationship. Sometimes it's the environment. Sometimes it's the instruction. Sometimes it's the discipline. So then when I see those, I end up giving the red flag back. I was like, it's not the kid. It is this is not set up for him to be successful. Or the way you teach this child isn't successful for this child. I had someone today, I was sharing something with sticker charts, and they're like, "Isn't that how kids learn anyway?" And I was like, I just take deep breaths in and deep breaths out. And then I have to like put my professional hat on and answer in not a mean way. Be like, "Oh goodness, I hope you don't teach children. You sound terrible." You can't say that out loud. I wanted to, just so you know. But I did not. That's why I'm drinking my water. Sure. That's what we're going to call it. So what else do we need to look at, and where else do we need to start? Oh, it's not going. Okay, inclusion. So we're going to go quickly. Values of inclusion. Diversity means different. It's not better or worse. So I am immersed in diversity right now because I have a lot of middle school, high school kids that started one sex and are a different sex now. And I have to remember to call Austin a him. But to me, it looks like a girl. It has girl pieces. And then I went to a GSA meeting, a Gay Straight Alliance meeting, and there are a whole bunch of terms I didn't even know. Do you know you could be polyamorous? That means you can have more than just one love or romantic something. And I was like, isn't that just an open relationship? They don't call that anymore. They call it polyamorous. And I was like, okay. I was hanging out with one, and they had a girlfriend. It's a boyfriend, because they're 2 girls that are now 2 boys, and And I was like, but you just were boyfriends with this one. And they were like, oh, it's all three of us together. We used to call that a love triangle, right? But it's not called that anymore. And it's very not okay when you call it that. I said, okay, well, I'm taking notes at the high school GSA thing. Like, what do I call it? Oh my gosh, I've learned so much stuff. And I have to know, okay, it's diversity. I get it. All right. I'm gonna, and I was like, what if I mess it up? They're like, it's okay. Just say, oh, sorry, I messed it up. Because I've said to Austin, who is now a boy, like, hey, girls and boys, all of you. I like all of you. Oh my goodness. So diversity just means different. It doesn't mean better than or worse than, and we don't teach it better than or worse than, right? If we don't talk about diversity in sexual preferences or gender, right? It's still where you live, right? It goes way past what we thought of when we grew up, right? Where you live, I've worked with parents that have I've worked with two families that are two moms, and right, just, it's okay. Everything's fine. I just have a lot of questions, right? Like I asked Austin, okay, so you biologically started a girl, and now you're dating a girl, but but you call yourselves he, him, his. I mean, you're a lesbian? I don't know. I don't know who to ask that question to, and I want to know. So, like, right, diversity-wise, there's so much to think about and know. And then how can you say, like, oh, I just didn't know. When I was in the GSA meeting, I was like, there's something called, like, that you don't have romantic feelings to somebody, or it takes a long time for you to enter a sexual relationship. And when we were little, we used to call that prude. And you should have seen their eyes were like this. And I was like, what? They were like, that is not okay to say. And I was like, that's what we called it. We just said you were a prude, right? Right? Am I not? I'm right, right? That's what we called it. And now you don't say that. That's like terrible now. And I was like, whew. So I had to like shake it out. I was like, okay, all this diversity, right? And my son asked me one time, Mommy, can girls marry girls and boys marry boys? And I was like, oh, here's my moment of inclusion, right? Here's my big moment. Here we go. And I said, yeah, bud, how come? And I said, well, you know how when Mommy fell in love with Daddy, it was just Mommy who's a girl fell in love with Daddy who's a boy. Sometimes when you're a girl, you don't fall in love with boys, you fall in love with other girls. And sometimes when you're a boy, you fall in love with other boys. It's just what you do. When he goes, oh, okay, Mommy. And then we're done with that conversation. And I was like, yes, winner. I got the Mother of the Year certificate in the mail the week later. Yeah, so figuring out the diversity piece, right, means like there's a lot of kids that live with grandparents, and we have to take out the part of the mom's in jail or the dad's on drugs, or right, judgment doesn't help in this situation with diversity, so we have to just see it as different. Equity, so fair doesn't mean equal, and I think a lot of good teachers know that, right? I had a kid, it's like, so Emily has glasses and Kirsten has glasses, another Kirsten. But if I said, Emily, did you bring enough glasses for everybody? Right, we all need to be equal, so you need to take your glasses off. And Emily would be like, I can't see you. I can't. And my dad and my brother have to wear glasses, and if they take them off, their like hearing goes. So if they have to listen to you intently, they put their glasses on. And we used to laugh about that, and now I understand it. Because without sight, right, your hearing, they just are like, whoa. So fair doesn't mean equal. So we have to make sure everybody, right, the next part, justice, you get your needs met the way you need them met. Meaning, what's your love language? And I'm going to follow your love language. If it's touch, I'm going to hug you and squeeze you and let you sit on my lap and hold your hand. If it's not touch and it's service, I'm going to find some jobs for you. You get your needs met the way you need them met. That can be hard for people if, right, especially love languages. A lot of you have been in my love language one, but love languages is human behavior wise, you love and care for others the way you need it, not the way they need it. So you have to be very open to the way they need it and then change your behavior accordingly. to meet justice. You're like, oh, you need this. I'm going to give you this because I didn't even realize I don't need it. So I didn't think to do it. Relationships is your number one way to lessen challenging behaviors. Everybody wants the fast way. The fast way you can't do. The fast way is hitting. And everybody, all teachers are always like, and I was like, yeah, you can't hit. There's no hitting for parents or for teachers. So we have to do, right? And then, so physical safety's out, emotional safety's out, because you have to, right? So we're not doing ignoring behavior. We're not doing sticker charts or clip down systems or any of that stuff. Any cards or trinkets or dollar bills or token systems or whatever someone tries to tell you is better than a sticker chart. It's all a sticker chart. They just call it something different. Relationships is your number one way. And I am successful with almost all kids. I've had maybe 3 that I walk in and I'm like, it's a no. Like I can feel the relationship's not going to go well with this. I still work with them. I just have to work extra hard. And otherwise, relationship-wise, I am right on with all kids because I'm really good at that piece. Unfortunately, you don't get tested at that in school, right? So we're going to do these quick. Children feel visible, valued, and supported. That's what an inclusive classroom or an inclusive home looks like, right? So people see you for who you are and meet your needs and do all the things that we just talked about for the values of inclusion. We don't have to be good at everything. If you were really good, anybody really bad at geometry? You want to see my geometry skills right now? I'm going to write them for you. There they are. Circle, square, triangle, rectangle. That's it. That's all I got. I took a whole year of geometry. How did I get out? Well, first of all, I'd still be in if I didn't cheat. I cheated my way out. Off the teacher. Chemistry, cheated. Off the kid who thought I was pretty and wanted me to be his lab partner. Hell yeah, I'll be your lab partner. Yes. Because I don't know what I'm doing. Chemistry, I don't understand. I don't care. I don't do any chemistry or any geometry now. My husband does geometry because he builds houses. Good. Then you should have been in that class. But you can't bow out of it. So how do I get out of geometry? I use my relationships to cheat. And I was very good at it, by the way. People are like, I can't believe you say you cheated. How many people cheated to get out of a class? I'm the only one. Okay, thank you. You all cheated. Not one time. I mean, granted, geometry and chemistry, I cheated the entire time. But I was so good at it, you didn't know. How can I be supported educationally and stay who I am? So I don't want to lose myself and having to be somebody different to follow your plan when you haven't thought of what my plan is, right? Is there something I succeed at regularly? Yeah, mine was relationships. You never get tested for that. When do you get tested for that in school? Ever. There's no test for it. There's no A+. My mom said when I was little, like 10 maybe? She said that the teacher said I had the intuition of a 16-year-old and I was really good at knowing what to engage in and what not to. And my mom's like, please don't tell her that. That's going to go right to her head. But those were always like, when you got numbers of how you were socially and emotionally, mine were always really low or high, whatever one you want. I don't know which one. I think low were really low because I was really good relationship-wise, except that doesn't count for much. It does in life, right? 85% of your success is in that relationship, is whether you can enter, maintain, and exit plan conversation. But you never get tested in school in an academic setting. So if you're good at it, but you're not good at chemistry and geometry, what happens? People throw flags at you. Are the adults in the environment supporting my emotional wellness? So take out all the clip systems and ignoring behavior and sticker charts. Take them out. Because if they're in there, I did the anxiety workshop today, and the mom was talking about anxiety. She had a son who had anxiety, and I talked about clip down systems and sticker charts and ignoring behavior. She's like, oh, I have those clip down systems in my house. Probably why y'all have anxiety. And I was like, oh, take those down. You don't need those. That's not good for anxiety. She's like, no, I like them. No. So no, you just told me all the stories and now I know where some of it comes from, right? Oh my goodness. Is the classroom a place where I could speak up, ask for something different, ask for more time? Children need to know that they're in a place that's child-oriented. My favorite is when someone will say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're treating my blocks like that. Are they your blocks? Stop it. You have blocks? You are 45 years old. You have blocks? Cut it out. Right? They get like, this is my classroom. And I was like, no wonder the kids have red flags. Because you haven't even let them have ownership of the classroom or anything in it, right? That's really important for kids to take care of it. Why are they going to take care of materials and take care of the classroom if it's yours? Don't you think it's better if it's theirs? Yeah. I had one lady fight me on that, just so you know I won the fight. She was like, but I buy this stuff at yard sales and I spend money on it. Okay, then you should keep it at your house. But if you bring it into the classroom with the children, it's everybody's. She was like, I disagree. I was thinking, I bet you have so many red flags in your socks that I can't even begin to count them. She was just very like ordered and orderly and in a box. And I was like, you need to do some self-reflection because you're overwhelming me. And I'm in behavior. I'm not overwhelmed often. And I want to kick you. I didn't say that out loud. That was just in my head, just so you know. The squirrel said it loud, but it didn't come out my mouth. Can I have a say in what I learn and how I learn it? That's the curriculum piece. Does this space shout, play here? I hope this leads to curiosity. Check out what I'm doing. Okay? Make sure. But that also means that it has to be the kid's classroom, not just yours. So what are the red flags I'm seeing in children most often? Most common ones, a need for movement, this kid. I had someone knitting, crocheting, knitting? I don't know the difference. In my class this afternoon. And they were like, you don't mind if I crochet or knit, do you? And I was like, no. You could just turn your camera off and do it, and I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even know the difference. So kids need for movement, except what do we make them do? Sit still and pay attention. First of all, your brain can't do both of those things at the same time. It's not physiologically possible. And just because you sit crisscross applesauce doesn't mean your ears work better, right? If everybody crossed their legs right now, can you hear me better? Nope, then uncross them. Can you still hear me? Now cross them again. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. Stop it. That's silly. Need for movement, which means not just outside. Inside. They have wiggle cushions. They have stuff on their seat so they can bounce their feet. Do they have a stand-up desk? Do they have, my least favorite is the chair that's attached to the desk with a pole and they can't even go backwards. I don't know how many times I said that in kindergarten. All four on the floor. You're going to fall and hit your head. I didn't have one kid fall ever. But I was nervous that they might bonk their head. So most common is this kid can't sit still. I don't know how to sit him still for circle. He doesn't sit still for circle. So that's where all the reward systems come in. I had a kid who was on a sticker chart for sitting in circle. And it was awful. Every 2 minutes, he got a sticker. And after 10 minutes, so after he got 5 stickers, he got a nerd. 1. You know the nerds, like the candy nerds? The little boxes that you get for Halloween? He got 1. And I was like, okay, so you're red flagging him, throwing red flags at me. Except 10 minutes is outside the developmental norm for a 4-year-old. Their average attention span is 9 minutes. I bet the one that moves a lot's not going to pay attention for 9 minutes. The hard thing is all the other 9-year-olds, all the other 4-year-olds did for like 40-minute circle time. You see the red flag? Don't red flag me. I'm red flagging you back. Your circle time's 40 minutes. That is too long for me, and I'm older than all these kids. So make sure we're not red flagging kids when we're having long circles, when we're not giving them anything else to do, when we're not teaching them about a fidget, right? We're not giving them something to hold, right? Moving and learning is connected in the brain. I'm doing that one next week. Without movement, your brain can't operate. You need both. So sitting still and paying attention is the exact opposite of what you're hoping kids will do, right? You hope that they're sitting still and paying attention and learning and listening. They're doing the exact opposite because the neural pathways don't work that way in your brain. Speech and language, and I also put sensory on mine. I didn't put update this one, but speech and language, I feel like that's happening a lot more now. Anybody feel like with young kids, it's happening so much more? Speech and language stuff. I have kids come up to me and they're like, and I look at the teachers like, you know what he said? I'm really good at reacting to those sort of things. I'm like, you did not. You did that today? Like because you can only say what so many times before a kid wants to kick you, right? Like, what? They want to like hit you because they can't, they're like, I'm saying it the best I can say it. Or when my son used to do it, I'd be like, tell me more about it. But if you have real severe speech and language, they can't tell you more about it either. Sensory. We have a lot of kids that are born in the wrong skin. You know those kids? I think it's always helpful. And the reason I put sensory with speech and language is because when we have a red flag and we think it's a true red flag and we shouldn't put it back in our pocket or back in our sock, and you throw it at me and I hold it like I think it's true, we need to find a speech and language person, or we need to find an OT, an occupational therapist. Why do I say those two? Because they have more education than we do, and parents take them more seriously than the babysitter and the crazy behavior lady. So if we bring them in and they agree with us, it helps us for future stuff with this family, but it also helps us because to be an OT, you can't just, not sure you could just go to 4 years of college. I think you have to go to like, I don't know, there's a lot of brain stuff they have to learn, a lot of science stuff they have to learn. And for some reasons, parents take their word over mine, even though I'm in behavior, or over yours, over anybody's. So if the red flag is real and you are holding it, make sure that you find a speech and language or an OT person. And a speech and language and OT person, find somebody who takes insurance so the parents don't have to worry about payment, right? The next one is mine. Attention and impulse. Some kids aren't good at that. Why? Because they have my temperament. You know how many kids I get that have ADHD? Do they? I think no, but I'm not allowed to say that. I'm not allowed to tell them. I'm not the one to diagnose them. I just know I'm like, oh, dude, you're on the spectrum with me. I don't think you have ADHD. You just have a lot of squirrels. Your squirrels are kind of bonkers. So are mine. But I know what to do. I have strategies. I'll teach you those. But if you are somebody who has great attention and impulse, you like to start things and finish things, and you're very planned and orderly, what do I look like? You know how many people have thrown red flags at me for me? Like every day. Well, not now because I don't go outside my house that much. But when I'm places, I was in Target the other day. You know, that's yesterday or 7 years ago. It wasn't yesterday because we're not allowed to go to Target. Is Target closed? I think Target's closed. They're not essential, right? I think Target's closed. Oh, no, I didn't try to go in. But I walk in, and I have a cart, and I'm going to get, I think I'm looking at bathing suits. It's just a terrible idea. That's a bad thing. And I'm walking, and I hear, hey, squirrel? With like a question mark, and I turn around. And they were like, yeah, it is you. You're the squirrel. And I was like, I'm getting yelled at Target. I have no idea who this person is. They've just watched me on, I don't know, YouTube or Facebook or something. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like squirrel popular. And they were like, I knew it was you. And they had nothing to say to me. No more of the conversation. They were just like, and then they went and to like check out. And I thought, all right, that's good. It's good. I think my brand is working. If I had a brand, someone's like, what's your brand? And I was like, I think it's supposed to be behavior, but I'm pretty sure it's squirrels. Have you seen the thing on Facebook, squirrels on a picnic table? It's like a little squirrel picnic table. Do you know how many times it's been shared with me? 48 times. That I've been tagged in it, or someone has sent it through Messenger, and I'm like, I think people are throwing red flags at me, right? They also send me unicorn stuff and poop stuff. Both of those things. So attention span and impulses. My husband will look at me and be like, you can't say that. Why? Okay. I mean, I've talked about stuff on here that I'm like, this is recording. If someone goes to buy this, it's going to be hysterical for them. They'll be like, wait, what are we talking about? Yeah, it's going to be fun. But intention and impulse for me, you could throw flags at me. I'll throw them back at you. Some of it is just fun. And that's the way I see it. So, right? So we're going to talk about the next thing in a minute. Oh, gosh, we have 7 minutes. Emotions regulation. Know that no kid's good at that. Do you know adults that aren't good at that? I think right now, if you thought all adults were good at emotions regulation, I think the quarantine and the coronavirus probably made that look different for you. Because I think we're seeing people who are having a really hard time with emotions regulation. I keep seeing people who are like, I'm really struggling. I've cried all day. Oh. Did you not have vodka in your house? That might help. Or a donut? I wanted a donut so bad today. I went to Dunkin' Donuts drive-through the other day to get a donut, and they ran out. I said to the lady, you know you're a donut place? Like, you can't, there's a coronavirus going around. You have to have donuts. And she went into this big, long, serious discussion about the donuts. And I was like, she didn't get it. Her emotions regulation is way better than mine, I guess, because I was really mad. And then she's like, when we do have donuts, she named the kinds they were going to have, and it's none of the kinds I like. And I was like, well, I haven't been back. You lost my 89 cents or $1.15. I don't know how much a donut is, but I did not give you my money. So, aren't red flags? Oh, some aren't red flags, but judgment based on the system practices, right? So a system or a school makes these rules. These kids don't fit into those rules. You can't figure out how to make those kids, round kids, fit in a square hole, and what happens? You just then hold their flags. And anybody that's going to come in to listen to you, you throw them at them. How do I get a kid to sit at circle? You don't. Because how would you get a kid to sit at circle? Tape them to the floor? Sit on them? It's not a thing you can make a kid do. But he has to do that in kindergarten. Then when he gets to kindergarten, he'll do it. Or not. I bet he still won't. So we have to what? You know how many kids in kindergarten I had jumping in the back of our circle? They were like jumping up and down. And I said, and I taught them what? Space. Don't get in anybody's space. You can't be distracting. If you need to stand up and bounce back there, I'm totally for it. But you can't distract others who are in the front trying to listen to the story, because that's how they learn best. I'm letting you learn best. You have to let them learn best. And it took a good month to figure that piece out, right? Is it a norm, excess, or deficit? So I don't want to leave without doing this part. I think some of you have heard it, but it also goes here as well. So behavior norms, so those follow the rules of society. Right now, the rules of society are don't go outside your house. Don't go to Target. Don't buy stuff. Stay inside, right? That's the rule right now for society. If you get in a store, don't steal things. That's a rule of society. When you're driving, don't drink. Right? That's a rule of society. Then there's behavior excesses. So people who do things too often with too much force or too much intensity. So for me, it's talking and moving, eating donuts. Every childcare center has chocolate and donuts, and I'm always like, ooh, is it donut day? I love donut day. And then I can't walk by the donut. I have to eat it. My voice volume, always. My husband's like, I heard your entire workshop. I'm a floor up from everybody. He heard the entire thing. He's heard every workshop. He asked if he gets a certificate. I was like, because I'm loud. And I was like, well, what if they can't hear me? He's like, it's like the telephone. You don't need to yell. I still yell. I sleep too often. I shop too much. I have too much energy. So that's a behavior excess. The behavior deficit is something we don't do enough with not enough force and with not enough intensity. So it could be exercise. I passed Planet Fitness and Wave. It's currently closed, but I wouldn't go even if it was open. Read books for work. That's my behavior deficit. I read articles for work and I listen to books. Focus. It's my behavior deficit. And eating fruits and vegetables. I think they're poisonous. If I had a wish, I would make fruits and vegetables taste like donuts and brownies. Yum. Well, is that a good wish? That's a good wish, I think. So we get a lot of red flags from this. Me, who has my attention span is little and my energy is an excess, is that a norm for me? Yes. If you excess and deficit me, what happens? You're throwing red flags. Do I have red flags? No. That's my temperament and my personality. So I have to learn skills to figure that piece out. But red flag, I don't need to be diagnosed with anything, although people diagnose me all the time with ADHD. I don't have it. I know a lot of you are like, really? Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. I don't have it. I've had a lot of people even bring me the sheet. Have you ever filled out the ADHD sheet? I have one. You want to see it? I know. I could take it and it would be a yes. I fill out a lot of yeses. And I would have to go to the doctors and they could put me on medicine. I could get diagnosed with it. I still don't think I have it. But why? Because that sheet just shows all the red flags. Well, if you didn't know this piece, you're red flag. ADHD? You kidding? Kids get flagged for that all the time, and I get them. Autistic kids, I get them. I have a girl now that's autistic that you would not think she was autistic. She needs some OT help. She's not autistic. She's having a hard time socially with boys. She's 16. Didn't you have a hard time socially with boys? 16? I mean, isn't that a thing? That's a thing. Oh my gosh, 8 o'clock. Okay. So norm, excess, and deficit is really important because that's where a lot of people get flags. So could it be related to temperament? Yes. Is there an overdiagnosis because of this? Yes. So know that, we're going to end with this, know that when you talk to parents about your red flags and you think they're legitimate red flags, know how many chances do you have? How many chances do you have? Yeah, Emily, 1. And it can't say any of the diagnosis stuff. Even me. I'm going to end with this story. I was in a school and they said, this boy's having a problem, right? They're throwing red flags at me. I said, okay, and I caught them and I went in. 9 minutes into it, I thought, I will give away all of my savings, which is like $37, if this kid is not autistic. Except I can't say that and I don't diagnose. But how many people have thought, yes, for sure this kid is autistic or has ADHD or something, and you know for sure that's the case? You can't say it. You cannot say it. So I had to look up characteristics of someone with autism, and I wrote it down. And that's what I had to tell her. I noticed he doesn't make any eye contact. I noticed that he is very inward in his thought and he doesn't give much notice to the outside world. Right? I was saying stuff like that. And she's like, do you think he's autistic? And I was like, and we can't say yes. Because it doesn't matter what we think. And I said, oh, I'm not really qualified to talk about that. I just know that he's having a really hard time here and I think he needs some additional support. I mean, 9 minutes in. I had to wait 51 minutes after that to call her to say the observation is done because I was supposed to be there 2 hours. I needed 9 minutes. It was an outside xylophone. He was on this side. I was on this side. And I tried to like make faces with him and like do the xylophone. Nothing. There was nothing. He didn't even notice I was there. He had such an internal world that he didn't even notice I was there. And so I tried many times to get him to like I'm okay with doing really crazy stuff. Didn't even look at me. All the other kids were like, who is the crazy girl that's in our class right now? As I'm trying to get him to like be outward, nothing. There was nothing. And then the mom had just come from the therapist and I said, is there somebody that can support you, like a husband or a boyfriend? Oh, I have a husband. He's useless. And I'm like, I was like, okay, so not only do you need marriage counseling, but you also need help with this boy. But we're not putting him in public school because the grandfather was a principal. And oh my gosh, it was a disaster. And I was like, I don't know what to say. It was really tough. It was really tricky. but I couldn't even say the words. So we have one chance with parents, know that. How will they hear me best? Do not say any of the words. Don't say any of the words. Because if, as a parent, if I went in, they said, I think your kid might have ADHD, that I am listening to nothing else you say. Even if you might be right. And I know in public school you could be fired. If a parent hears that and brings that to like a school board, you could be fired forever and get your teaching license taken away. You're not allowed to say those things. So the last one is pretty self-explanatory, which you can read. And does anybody have any questions? No? I am doing ones next week. I'll tell you what they are. Hold on. I don't actually know what they are. Wait, I have it here. Hold on. Squirrel. So I have moving beyond rewards and punishment to choice and appropriate consequence. That's on the 14th. If you were here, you found it on Facebook or on email. And that one is moving from fear-based strategies to love-based strategies. Movement and thinking are connected. That's the part where the kids who have to move, we have to find a way to get them to let them move so their neurons and pathways work appropriately. Nutrition and challenging behavior, that one's so good. If you figure out a kid's nutrition, it's almost never for the worse. That's a strategy that is almost always in the positive, unless you introduce things that are allergens. Doesn't cure anything, but it definitely makes it better. And I'm doing promoting child engagement. So how can we help kids engage with each other and engage with kids appropriately? So
thank you, Meg. I'm signing off. It's
okay.
Kirsten. Thank you so much. It was awesome.
Thank
Great
you.
to see you, and thanks for all your knowledge.
Thank you. Bye. All right, everybody. Here's the part that we all love. Trying to figure out how to end, right? Don't we love that?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Megan.
Bye. Oh, favorite one so far. Bye, Kathy. Okay, everybody.
Veronica.
Oh, Veronica.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'll see some of you next week. Oh boy,
Bye.
Here we go. End meeting. I think I would know this by now. Bye, everyone.